3 terrifying horror stories that will keep you awake tonight, late at night. When the world is quiet, strange things lurk in the shadows. Some stories are mere legends, but others feel all too real. Tonight, I'll share 3 terrifying horror stories that might just make you sleep with the lights on. 1. The Whispering Closet. It started when Daniel moved into his new apartment. The place was perfect cheap rent, a great view, and plenty of space. But from the first night, something felt off. He would wake up at exactly 3 a.m. to a faint whispering sound. At first, he blamed it on the wind or noisy neighbors. But every night, without fail, the whispers would return always from the closet. One night, curiosity got the best of him. He grabbed a flashlight, took a deep breath, and slowly opened the closet door. There was nothing inside except his clothes. But as he ran his hand along the back wall, his fingers met something strange wood, but not the back of the closet. A hidden door. His heart pounded as he pushed it open. A narrow passage stretched beyond, leading into darkness. The air was damp and smelled of decay, and then the whispers stopped. In their place, a slow, deep breathing echoed from the tunnel. Daniel slammed the door shut, barricaded it, and left the apartment the next morning. He never looked back, but even in his new home, as he lay in bed at night, he would still hear those whispers calling his name. The doll in the mirror. Emma had always loved collecting dolls. So when she found an old porcelain doll in an antique shop, she couldn't resist buying it. The shopkeeper, an elderly woman, smiled but gave her a warning: never leave the doll facing a mirror at night. Emma laughed it off. That night, she placed the doll on her dresser, directly in front of her bedroom mirror, and went to bed. At 2:47 a.m., she woke up suddenly, her room eerily silent. Something felt wrong. She turned on the light and her heart nearly stopped. The doll was no longer on the dresser. It was now sitting on the floor, directly facing the mirror. Its tiny porcelain head was tilted slightly to the side, as if watching her. Panicked, Emma picked up the doll and shoved it back on the shelf. But as she turned toward the mirror, she noticed something horrifying. The doll's reflection hadn't moved. It was still sitting on the floor, staring at her. She screamed and threw the doll away the next morning. But even without it, she could still hear soft giggles at night. And sometimes, when she passed a mirror, she swore she saw the doll staring back. The vanishing hitchhiker David was driving home late at night on a deserted highway. The road stretched endlessly ahead, surrounded by nothing but trees and darkness. Then, in the distance, he saw her, a young woman standing by the roadside in a white dress, her long black hair covering part of her face. Feeling sorry for her, he pulled over and rolled down the window. "Do you need a ride?" he asked. The woman nodded slowly and got in. She was eerily silent, only whispering in a dress a few miles away. The air inside the car grew colder. Something about her felt off. He glanced at her through the rearview mirror, and his blood ran cold. Her feet weren't touching the floor. Trying to stay calm, he drove on. When they reached the address, he turned to tell her they'd arrived, but she was gone. The seat was empty, yet the fabric was damp and cold, as if someone had just been sitting there. Shaken, he knocked on the door of the house. An old woman answered, her face filled with sadness. When David explained what happened, she sighed. "That was my daughter," she said. "She died in a car accident on that very road 50 years ago. Are you alone tonight? These are just stories, or are they?" Tonight, as you turn off the lights, listen closely. If you hear whispers, if your reflection moves on its own, or if you see someone standing by the roadside, maybe, just maybe, these stories aren't just fiction. Sleep well. If you can,